Well, for me, I guess Hoon TV was something I kind of had the bit of a nickname being Hoon, being a motorbike stunt rider or wannabe try-hard stunt rider. Always been to cars and motorbikes. I was a qualified mechanic. When I was working in magazines, I'd worked for most of the big magazines, either freelance or in some full-time roles in Australia back when magazines were a big thing. You know, obviously Facebook and the internet kind of killed magazines off a bit, but there's some still surviving. But for me, Hoon TV was almost like when I was getting more into video production, just something I did as a bit of a side gig to promote what I was doing. So I launched Hoon TV and Hoon Media, my media business, in 2010. And then from there, never really went into it with a plan, but I guess the thing for me, being a mechanic by trade, I've always loved building cars and motorbikes. So over the years, I've been fortunate enough to have a okay house with a decent sized shed and a lot of really good connections, and really close friends have helped me out with things and given me workshop space to do things when I needed to. But a few of the highlight builds that I've done over the time was I built a motorbike called the Honda, which was I'm a massive tragic for early CBR 900 Hondas, the carbureted ones. And back in the day, I was working for a magazine in the UK doing freelance for them called Street Fighters magazine, because the Street Fighters was all the guys that had put like flat bars or motocross bars on a bike and take all the fairings off and that sort of thing. So I built a street fighted CBR 900 called Honda. We put a Garrett T28 up under the swing arm, converted to fuel injection, and it was an absolute handful to ride, but it was awesome. You know, it was great, and did a full build series on that. After that, I'd built some other bikes, but probably one of the best ones for me was I was approached by YAMAHA Australia. Through one of the contacts I had there, they just said, you know, you've built some pretty cool bikes, and would you like to build a bike for us? It was almost like they didn't give me any parameters or specs of what to build. They just basically said, you know, what do you think? And I said, look, I've got this crazy, ridiculous idea. You're either going to tell me I'm a complete idiot or tell me you love it and don't care how much it's going to cost to build. So what I did was I went in, had a meeting with them in this little boardroom area, and took my laptop in and just had like a concept I'd done in Photoshop of it. For anyone who's into bikes, in 1998 Yamaha bought out the R1, which is, you know, I wouldn't say the widowmaker, but the R1 was the big daddy of Yamaha, the crazy bike, and it had that iconic red and white scheme. So I went in there with this idea because this was in 2017, and in 2018 the R1 was becoming 20 years old. So my pitch was to basically get a 98 R1 and then take all of the mechanicals and electronics out of a current model and put it into a 98. I went in there, showed them the concept, and they just sort of looked at me and said, can you actually do that? And I said, I'll get back to you. I was really fortunate. A good friend of mine had a motorbike workshop literally 2 minutes from my house, and he just happened to have a 98 and a current model in pieces. So we were sitting there with tape measures and checking things, and actually sat the engine there. I was like, and I rang him. I said, look, it's going to be a bit of work, but we can make this happen. So I found probably the rattiest 98 I could find. Didn't want to bastardize a good one. So I found like an okay condition but needed love bike. And then Yamaha basically sent me a brand new R1 in a box with 0 kilometers on it, which we pushed into the workshop and stripped. From there, it just went from being let's see how this fits to basically putting the frame on a jig, making CNC machine engine mount brackets, making the current model forks and swing arm fit, everything to the IMU, which is like tells the bike, I think, 160 times a second what the brake pressure is, the yaw, the accelerator. All of the electronics went into the bike. There was so much in it, even modifying the inside of the tank to get to the finished product, which looked like a red and white 98 R1, but basically was underneath the 2018 R1. Even managed to, in Australia, we have a thing called getting a vehicle engineered. So I had to go through a local transport engineer to get the thing approved for road use. And it was a complete going concern, to the point where I'd say like the first shakedown on the bike, because anyone who knows like a late model R1, they've got that beautiful big bang cross plane crank sound to them. So I took it to Sydney Dragway for just a regular drag, like Wednesday night drag meeting, and they usually have like a decent amount of bikes there, and I've rocked up there on this 98 R1. People are like, oh yeah. And remember this one guy walks over and he points to the dashboard and he goes, oh, it's got the new dash in it. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, how'd you make that work? I said, oh, because the rest of the bike's got all the new stuff in it as well. But it was cool because it was like, it still looked right. Unfortunately, speed hunters who aren't around anymore Speed Hunters did a full feature on it. It was featured in a bunch of magazines, and I also did a full build series on it. And because the new R1 was called a WE R1, we called it a WE 98. So it was kind of like, I'm still friends with the guy that owns it now. They ended up doing a competition to win it. Yeah, I think the goal originally was to see it sitting like in the Yamaha museum or something like that. And yeah, I had a few people through the YouTube comments and stuff like that contacting me going, hey, how much would it cost to build another one? I'm like, there was a lot of work. It was a big build, but I was incredibly fortunate to have some really good CNC guys, welders, and people around me that were there to help make it come together. We did the whole thing in 3 months. So it was almost became a full-time job for me. I sort of just pushed aside my stuff. Working freelance TV, I was sort of able to work on the weekends and get this bike done during the week, but to stand back at the end of it and go, holy crap, we did this. We actually shut the work out at the shop one night and put it up on a stand, put a cover over, invited all those people in and pulled the covers off it, did it live on Facebook and stuff like that. And it was kind of a special moment. I had my dad there as well. He's, not really a motorbike guy, but to have him there as well was great. But to do that for me, it was awesome. And me being a creative type and building these things, like it was an achievement and something I'd love to do more of. Well, the channel now, it's still very much a hobby. Like, I mean, obviously I've been building this Hoon brand. I've got the trademarks for it. I've released my own brand of coffee called Hoon Coffee, other things like that. But for me, it's almost like a diary. Like, I can now look back at 16 years ago and go, hey, there's me back then doing stuff like that. And I want to be able to look back in 10, 20 years time at what I was doing. But for me at the moment, I'm building a drag car, which has been an ongoing process. It's survived house moves, divorces, jobs, all sorts of stuff like that. But the goal is to finish it. And I've also got a Land Cruiser which I had sponsored and built. Most people know 80 series Land Cruisers. They know them as the typical thing. I had this 600,000 kilometre old Land Cruiser. I got approached by a company in Australia called Burson Auto Parts, which is kind of like O'Reilly's in America, and pitched an idea to them. And basically we turned this Land Cruiser from an old green Land Cruiser into a 2-door panel van, welded the back doors and windows up. It's all sort of texture black paint, and it's got a 6-litre LS in it with a big stupid cam in it, which suits the car perfectly. So that car is awesome. I love it to bits. I drive it as often as I can. It's obnoxious and does everything it needs to, but I've got other ideas up here that to take it to the next level. The car's actually called Frank the Tank. So I want to do more of that. But then there's other builds that I'd love to do. Like there's a typical car guy that's got 500 car build ideas and motorbike ideas in my head. If I could achieve all of them in my life, I would. But at the moment, I'm happy doing the ones I've got. And then once they're done, I'll maybe move on to the next one.
Autotempest.com just got even better. We've always loved Autotempest because they compile all the results from all the major listing sites into one place with one search. But now they've just added their search by description option, which means that you can just put in a string of text of what car, what miles, whatever you want, and they go to all the sites and give you the results so quickly and so powerfully so you can see the entire market with more advanced precision than ever before. Of course, if you still want to use the traditional drop-down menus of year, make, model, trim, price, miles, all the things, they allow you to do that, but this makes it so much faster and so much easier to find exactly the car that you're looking for from whatever deep dark corner of the internet it might be trying to hide in. And so check out Autotempest now at the link in the description below or with the QR code on your screen to thank them for their support of VINwiki and find your next car on Autotempest.